On March 19, 2011, Jon Jones became the youngest UFC champion in history by defeating Shogun Rua at UFC 128.
Unbelievable. I feel bad for that Brazilian. He better work on his 10th planet.
What he said.
Winning the title at only 23 years old, this is a record that Jones has held for over 14 years. It makes sense why this would be such a hard record to break. Over time, the sport has grown and the average level of talent has gotten much higher. Once entering the UFC, there's more fighters in each division than ever before, putting you in a larger pool with even better talent. Except for that one time in 2016.
Don't listen to them. Believe in yourself. Sometimes the outcome isn't always what you desire it to be.
Thank you, CM Punk. This chart shows the 5 youngest UFC champions in history and their age at the time of being crowned. Only 4 fighters in history have ever won a belt under the age of 25, showing just how difficult it is to be the best in the world at mixed martial arts at such a young age. So who could possibly dethrone Jones for the top spot? Before we get into Mr. Chiwiwis, let's take a look at the UFC rankings and see if there is anyone else with a shot of breaking the record. Out of 165 ranked fighters in the UFC, only 2 of them are eligible to beat the record. Both already 23 years old, Joshua Van, ranked 14th in the men's flyweight division, and Yasmin Lucindo, ranked 8th in the women's strawweight division, are the only ranked contenders eligible to become the youngest champion. So unless Joshua Van gets a title shot in the next 2 months, or Lucindo gets one in the next 6th, expect the record breaker to come from outside of the rankings.
Man, my ego just hurt a little bit, you know what I mean?
Sorry, Josh, but if we're being honest, the person with the best chance to break the record is Raul Rosas Jr. Signed to the UFC at 17, El Niño Problema is still the youngest fighter on the roster at age 20. After winning this past weekend at UFC Mexico City, it brought the question into my mind, can he break Jon Jones' record?
I hate you.
Sorry, John. Didn't mean to rile you up. But if he can break the record, what does a realistic path and timeline look like for Rosas Jr.? This chart shows the ages of the 5 youngest champions in respect to Rosas when he first entered the UFC. About halfway to the age of Jones when he first got the belt, this is where Raul stands now. We can use his UFC career so far to estimate a timeline for becoming the bantamweight champion. Rosas Jr. has had 6 fights in the UFC octagon, with his most recent fight at UFC Mexico being on March 29, 2025, and making his debut on December 10, 2022. Between these 2 dates is 840 days. With 6 fights in 840 days, this means Raul Rosas Jr. averages a fight every 140 days, or 4.6 months. He might not be the most active fighter in the UFC.
Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Got Kevin on the mic, what we gonna do? Woo woo.
But he is certainly capable of becoming a champion at an age younger than Jones. Jones was 8,644 days old when he became champion. Rosas is currently 7,477 days old. That means Rosas Jr. has 1,167 days to break the record. If he continues to fight every 140 days, that would give him 8.34 fights to get the title. Although he's not in the UFC's top 15, Tapology puts Rosas Jr. as the 37th best bantamweight in the world. Riding a 4-fight win streak and being a star in the UFC, Rosas Jr. should be able to jump the line and make it to the title in the next 5 fights. This roadmap shows his path to the title, along with the average age Rosas will be based on his previous 6 fights and the estimated UFC event. He first needs to fight someone right outside of the rankings, so let's give him Ricky Simón at UFC 320, an event that's already been confirmed to be UFC Noche in Mexico. Simón finished Javid Basharat in February, and fights around twice a year. Although he's lost to talented guys like Rob Font and Song Yadong, he's also finished guys like Jack Shore and Rafael Assunção who are not low-level fighters. If Rosas Jr. is able to get past Simón, then he will get his shot at the rankings. Having 5 wins in a row, the youngest fighter ever to sign a contract will have 6 wins under his belt before the age of 21. Next up comes a fighter on the edge of the rankings, Aiemann Zahabi, a man who is somehow fighting Jose Aldo at UFC 315.
Jose Aldo versus Aiemann Zahabi! What are you doing?
We can expect him to need a long layoff after getting shown levels by the legend. At the beginning of next year will be UFC 325, and if Zahabi is still holding on to that 14th or 15th spot, Rosas will be coming to take it. After taking a spot on the rankings at only 21, expect the UFC to push Rosas into the top 10. If 6th ranked Song Yadong loses his next fight, he will be forced to fight down with Rosas as a clear opponent. This will put Rosas in a clear position for a title eliminator, riding a 7-fight win streak and one of the biggest stars in the entire bantamweight division. UFC 334 could be Rosas Jr.'s title eliminating bout. We know the UFC always goes to Abu Dhabi in October, around the time of Raul's birthday. If he is still in title contention, expect Umar Nurmagomedov on home soil, in a grappler's delight to celebrate Rosas' 22nd birthday and see who is next for the title. With Simone, Zahabi, Yadong, and Nurmagomedov as his last 4 wins, Rosas Jr. will have enough on his resume to earn a title shot. Given double the amount of time to prepare for the champion, expect Rosas Jr. to fight for the title at UFC 343. He will be 22.76 years old, with a chance to become the champion almost a year younger than Jones. Is it likely? Absolutely not. The competition improves every year, making a record like this nearly impossible to break. But if someone does it, expect it to be the kid out of Santa Rosa, California, Raul Rosas Jr., someone who has dedicated their entire life to pursuing the dream of a UFC champion. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments if you think Raul Rosas Jr. actually can break Jon Jones' record. And follow us on Instagram and TikTok, where I post the Barn Burner Gazette every Thursday to highlight the upcoming fight week. Thank you so much and take care.